All right, guys, after a couple of days of hard work, I've got the enclosure operational, done a few more things to the laser with some cable management. I'm still a long way from being complete with it, but I couldn't wait any longer, and I wanted to try my first full length 36-inch design, so to speak. So that's what I got going right now, and as you can tell, I still don't have the glass in the machine yet. I've got to order that. I'm going to be adding a 48-inch pane across the front of the enclosure to try to, let as much visibility as I can. But I'm just going to kind of walk you through where I'm at now with the biggest enclosure I have ever seen in my life. So stick around if that's something you're interested in. All right, guys, so right behind me here, I've got the Atezr. I've got it in its new home. The only thing that I'm missing is my protective glass, a little more cosmetic things that I want to do to it. But even without the glass, believe it or not, it is actually doing a really good job of evacuating the smoke. But the basic design is very similar to the other enclosures that I've built, with the exception of the exhaust, the bed that moves up and down. And of course, it's huge, guys. I mean, this thing is 4 foot. Interior dimensions is 4 foot wide. I think I've got 31 inches from front to back. The machine actually sits on a shelf that I built into the design, and there's a lift underneath the honeycomb and the work bed that allows it to go up and down. And I've got a button over here that I'll show you in just a minute as soon as this burn gets through. But I just wanted to see if I could cut out a 3 foot long sign. So that's what I'm doing. I did a real quick design just to see how well it works. It's basically going to be a stencil, but I made it almost as big as the workspace as far as the final cut once the letters are cut out. So I'm going to let this guy finish. All right, guys, that is my very first engrave out of a piece of wood bigger than a 16 by 16. And I will say it's pretty awesome. Having this size and having this much power to where I can run 8 millimeters a second and cut through what I typically have to run 6 millimeters a second on is definitely gonna help productivity on those large orders when I have a lot of things to cut out. I mean, can you imagine how many keychains I can make out of this sheet of Luan? How many of my ink bandits from May or whatever. It is unreal the amount of stuff I'll be able to get done now. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull this guy out here and show you. It was a clean cut. All of the pieces, even with the knots that are in this piece of material, because I chose this piece of material to be my sacrificial lamb because there were a couple of knots in the back of it right here. And I know a lot of you guys are talking, you talk about the Luan with the knots. It's true, but it didn't even slack up when it come through there. So not a big issue, not a big deal. But I got one little hanger right here in the edge of this engrave that would probably need a little bit of a X-Acto knife treatment. And if I'd have slowed down a little bit, it might not have done that. But all in all, guys, I've been waiting for the right machine to come along before I upgraded to an extended model. And I am glad I did at this point in time. There we go. Got it all out. All right, so that is massive. So now if I need to put my name on something, and I got me a stencil now, but we could actually take and I could make me a little signage for the new enclosure there if I wanted. So we'll see. But I just wanted to do a quick test and couldn't come up with anything that I needed. And so there you go. But I'm going to walk you over. I'm going to show you some of the features of this build, some of the things that I incorporated from learning. This is my 4th enclosure build. So I've learned some things along the way that I didn't like or I did like, and implemented some of those, the designs that I felt like would be better in this one so far. And so far, I'm pleased. I still got a lot of housekeeping to do with it, guys. Some cable management, hiding cables, and a little bit of routing. But it's really, really close to being where I want it. So I'm going to move the camera over and show you what's under the hood. All right, guys. Like I said, 48 inches inside dimensions. From this side to this side on the inside, it is 48 inches wide. I haven't got all my screws put in exactly where I want them yet. I could not resist firing this thing up. But I'm still going to put the glass panel in the front before the enclosure will be secured. But it done a really good job of getting the smoke out, even without a window. It was just drafting air in here and pulling the smoke right out. So I got a little clip of video. I think I'm going to be able to work that in to where you can see how that worked. But I just got some cheap hardware that I bought. I went for the silver hardware. I like kind of adding chrome, but I just used the metal that's kind of the silver color. The top has 3 hinges. These are basically just barn door hinges. I've got one on either side and one in the middle. I probably would have used 4 if I'd have had them, but all I could find in my bin over there was 3, so I went with 3. There is the possibility that I may add something to give it a little more rigidity in the middle. But so far, this 3/4 inch plywood that I used is really thick. It's really tough and durable. And at these lengths, it doesn't have a whole lot of give to it. And so it shouldn't be a problem. But if it does, then I can go back in and add like a 2x2 frame or something inside there. But open it up, show you what's under the hood here. And I haven't sanded the entire thing yet. I haven't finished it. I haven't stained it or anything. I'm going to start here at the top. I've got some LED lights that I bought off of Amazon, and they actually, inside the enclosure, they have a variable power on the cable to where you can turn them up or you can turn them down, depending on, you know, how bright you want it to be inside. And I'm going to put all the links to this stuff that I'm going over. I'll put it down below, guys. If you're interested in any of it, go check that out. I'll notate what it is and put you a link down there where you can find it. This is the Han and Guan fan that I've had for a while now. This is my 2nd fan that I've went through with enclosures. The first one I had was one of the Vivo Suns, and it wasn't adequate to extract the smoke from the 20 watt once I got into the 20 watt range. So I moved up to this one, and so far this one's done a really good job. I am going to be doing a little bit better job with my cable management, but like I said, for right now, I just wanted to test it and make sure everything worked as I wanted it to. I plan to pick up some cable straps and stuff tomorrow and come in here and clean all this cabling up and get it to looking like I want it to. All right. I've temporarily, and I say temporarily because I'm just trying this idea out, I put the air assist inside the enclosure to try to keep it, you know, out of my shop, because my shop is very dusty. I do a lot of woodworking in here, a lot of sanding, but it may prove that it's just as dusty inside the enclosure. So not sure where I'm going with that yet. But I did put it inside to try to help mitigate some of the noise and keep it inside the box. It has variable power, and so I've got the knob right here where I can get to it in kind of my control area of the enclosure. I do have a power strip down here that basically is my master power switch. I've got to get that guy mounted. Right now I've just got it sitting there. When I turn that switch on, that gives power to the fan. It also gives power to the air assist and the machine. The lights are ran independently, so they don't turn off when the switch turns off. And I just like that so that when people come into the shop, even if I'm not using the laser, it's kind of lit up and it just kind of looks cool. So I'm gonna probably leave that way, but I've got to, like I said, I got to clean up my cabling and so forth. You will notice on the machine, I have added a drag chain. And that was because with the door being right here, I had this phobia that either the cabling was going to be rubbing up against my window and scratch it, or the cable was going to get in between the doors. I let it down and, you know, pinch something or break a cable. So I had an extra piece of drag chain left over from some other machines, and I just attached it to the bed of the enclosure with a couple of Phillips head screws. And now I have me a functioning drag chain just to keep the cable from getting in the way or getting pinched. Okay. So moving down to my little shelf here, I'm gonna open the front door, and this is the access for large items, access to be able to work on any of my wiring or anything, because all the wiring is in this is internal. I've got one power outlet one power cable that runs over to the battery backup that powers this entire machine, all the peripherals and everything. I haven't got my locks on here, but the plan is I'm going to get some of those magnetic cabinet locks. I've left just enough room right here to mount them here and here. But luckily the friction of it closing is enough to hold it up for now until I can get those locks, those latches. There's a 48-inch piano hinge that runs the entire length of the bottom here. That folds down, that gets it completely out of my way so that I can come up in here and I can work and move things and not have that door in the way. Underneath here, I have the mechanics for the adjustable bed. And over here to the right side, like I said, this is kind of my control area. I've got all of my controls, all of my power switches, everything over here. I've got a button, and I'm going to turn my master power on. But you'll notice that the button lights up blue, and that is the power button for the lift. That lowers the lift or raises the lift. And I'll move you over here and kind of give you a little bit closer look. So this is what it looks like over inside the enclosure. I built this specifically to have my machine at this height. I felt like this was a safe working area. I'm not bending over like you do in some of the big CO2 machines that sit on the floor or anything. And I'm not having to stretch to try to reach things. My reach is more than adequate to be anywhere in this work area. Even with the bed let all the way down, I can still reach in here and manipulate things if I need to. The reason I did the bed is, say, like I've got this guy in the queue for a project here pretty soon. And if I wanted to engrave this is, you know, 3.5 inches, probably 3 inches thick. So to engrave this normally with the Atezr, I would either have to have leg extensions, or I would have to like have a hole in my enclosure to drop this guy in, but not with this setup, guys. The cool thing about this setup is I can literally take and put any size item in my work area, and all I've got to do now is take my laser head over here and drop down my focus leg, loosen the knob, set the focus, and I'm ready to go. So I can actually now engrave the surface of this without having to do anything to my machine. Okay, if I finish this project, and let's say I move on to another project and I want to engrave this coaster, which is very dusty. Well, normally you would have to take the legs off of your machine to go back to be able to do this coaster. But not with this enclosure. All you got to do is raise the bed up, get the bed to, you know, close enough to focus range. You could even raise the laser head up to its maximum height and raise it all the way up. Flip the leg down, lower the focusing. It's cork, got to be careful, it'll drive a hole in it. And I'm ready to engrave this. I can engrave that, and then I can go to another big object and just drop this thing right back down where it was. So that was the purpose for me doing the elevator inside the enclosure, was to be able to do ammo cans, to be able to do boxes, to be able to do, you know, whatever. I've got a lot of distance with this build to be able to engrave. And just to show you here, let me measure with the bed in the far down position, and I've got the laser module pretty much as high up as it'll go without the screw being on the edge. I've got 11 inches of distance between the bottom of the laser module and the top of the workspace. Well, I know what you're thinking. You know, what if it's a 12-inch workpiece or whatever? Well, in that case, guys, I'm just going to have to improvise and raise the machine up inside the enclosure if I need to. But I don't plan on doing anything like that. If I do, I'll be doing it using the sawhorses or whatever else. But This should accommodate 98% of the stuff that I do. I should be able to get it inside this enclosure and do it with very little effort as far as having to reset my machine between jobs, because I'm not always doing exactly the same job every day. So, but I'm going to drop a link to the lift in the description if you're interested. One thing that I will show you here, the honeycomb is not permanently attached. What I did with the honeycomb is I used a bunch of those little magnets that we all get every time you buy a honeycomb. They send you these magnets. Well, I took those magnets and put some adhesive on the back of them. This piece of metallic backer is basically just to keep the laser from penetrating down below and cutting any cabling or damaging my lift mechanism. And so I have adhered these magnets directly above the frame of the lift. And when I put the honeycomb on there, they kind of hold it in position. And the way that I use to get the honeycomb lined up is using this back shelf back here. Just lower this down to where I get it just below that shelf. And then I can come in with my honeycomb. And once I get it in the work area, I just have to lift it up, move it over, make sure that on the ends it's even with the silver backer, and then kind of fight with the magnets a little bit to get it to where I've got not quite, probably 3/8 of an inch gap here and 3/8 inch of a gap there. Once I do, the magnets hold it in place, hold it secure. The only problem that I could see with that is if I did not know how this was designed, and let's say I put a 10-pound item all the way back on this end, that could cause a problem. But typically speaking, it's pretty sturdy. I can put a bucket of paint over here. The only downfall is you can see that the honeycomb will give just a little bit if you put too much weight near the edges, which most of these honeycombs have a little bit of sponge to them when it's a heavy object like that. But as long as I stay in the middle section of the honeycomb, I have no doubts that this thing is going to do exactly what I want it to do. All right, guys, so this is going to be kind of the walk around tour here. As you can see, that's 16 foot of high output LED lights. More than adequate to illuminate the workspace. That's the Han and Guan fan right there. Currently, like I said, never mind the cables, guys. I'm going to fix that once I make sure everything is staying where it's at. There's the variable power for the lights. There is pretty much no cabling back this way except for the machine, the actual wiring that's on the machine. This is my little Picatinny dovetail mount that I made for the air assist. This air assist is kind of uniquely shaped, and so I made me a little dovetail that it slides on right there and just kind of holds it in position, and that's screwed into the wall, and then that just slides on there. So if I need to move the air assist somewhere else, it's not that big of a deal. Like I said, power strip is going to be mounted. Currently it's just sitting there, but I am going to put me a little board here and mount the power strip directly to that board once I get a chance. Then I've got all of the wires and everything for the Atezr here, but I'm going to kind of get me a little cabling, and just to make sure I don't have anything pull in on my ports or anything like that, I'm going to kind of adhere those over to the side, because I've got a mess in there, guys. I got to clean that up. And this is the button for the lift, and you can see the lift operates, and I do have the buttons oriented where up is up and down is down. That was something I had to pay attention to when I was fixing it. And if I need to charge my phone while I'm engraving, guys, there's me 2 USB ports. All right, drag chain, it is secured to this little shelf here and just runs up. It's just a short piece of drag chain, but it is effective for what I needed. Under here is kind of where the magic happens with the lift. It's got a little small actuator right there, and that actuator basically it acts like a scissor jack, but it's not being manually powered. It has that actuator, and you can see there's all my wiring for now. but I'm going to be cleaning that up. Another thing that I like about this design is I can get in here and vacuum this out. If I have large items that will not fit in through the top because the machine is bigger than they are, I can also lower the bed down, and now I can take the item and place it in here and raise it up to the bottom of the machine instead of trying to come in through the top. So I think that's going to be a benefit. That's where we're at right now, guys. Still got to get the safety glass, but that's coming. All right, guys, so as you can see, I still got a lot of my tools displaced. The shop is a wreck. I mean, I've got stuff laying everywhere. I've got to reconfigure where I'm going to be putting some of my tools. I'm going to go out back here and clean some room out in my lean-to. So I put some of my yard tools, such as my weed eater and hedge trimmer and stuff like that. I'm going to try to get that out from in the work area here and put it out back underneath the lean-to. I did expand my work area here where I work from the computer to allow me a place to lay my notebook, because when I'm doing a lot of designing, I take notes, lay out my dimensions, and I sit and design it. And so I had a really small area, and so I expanded that just slightly to give myself a little more room. But I've kind of ended up with this little dead corner back here that I've got to do something with. I'm thinking I'm probably going to end up moving some of my engraving supplies and putting some shelving here, and just have this be a shelving area instead of trying to use it for anything else, because it's kind of dead now. There's really not a whole lot I can do in here unless I move all of this shelving that way to give myself some more room, and that's going to be a mess. But the good news is, down below here, I'm going to be putting in some more shelving, and what that's going to be, I'm going to put basically underneath this enclosure, the top layer is going to be the large panels of Luan wood for this machine, and then some more storage for the smaller pieces for the other machines underneath there. And that's going to give me, still having on the other end over here underneath, I've got some storage there. Don't know exactly what's going to happen there. I'm thinking I'm going to put some drawers in, maybe, but they're going to be a little hard to get to. So I've got to figure it out, guys. It is definitely, having the added machine size has definitely kind of cramped my space. But I'll keep you updated as the progress continues. But I just wanted to catch you guys up on what was going on and what I've got done so far. So there you have it. That is the Clack Shack version of the Atezr P20 extended enclosure as it sits today. And it'll not be that way probably for 3 or 4 more days. It'll be changing as soon as I can get the rest of my supplies in and figure out how I'm going to do it. So I hope that's something you're interested in, guys. If you like this type of content, you hadn't already, go hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. If you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. I'll reply as I can. I do stay very busy, so sometimes those waits may be a little bit, but just be patient with me and I'll try to get back with you. But until next time, guys, be safe and have a good day.